I just wanted to make a quick video talking about something that's been gathering momentum in the news recently. It may be something you're aware of. It's something that previously when I've spoken about it, a lot of people aren't aware of and are quite shocked that this is law. So what I'm trying to talk about is the abortion laws in the UK, specifically relating to pregnancies where the baby is given a high chance of having Down syndrome or another disability that they screen for at the start of the pregnancy. So the current law at the moment is that if you have a typical pregnancy, and that's a pregnancy that doesn't screen as having a higher chance of having a baby with Down syndrome or other disabilities that are tested for, the laws for abortion in that scenario are up until 24 weeks. This is over halfway through the pregnancy, and by now you will have already normally had all of your screening done, so any chance of having a child with Down syndrome or some of the other disabilities that they screen for, you should already have had all of that back. If your baby is deemed to have any chance of having Down syndrome or some of the other disabilities that they screen for, then you can actually choose to terminate the pregnancy all the way up to 39 weeks and 6 days. And a pregnancy is normally 40 weeks long, so that's literally until their due date you can terminate that pregnancy. It seems to suggest that the value of the life of someone with Down syndrome or another disability is worth less than that of someone without these disabilities. You've got a longer window to terminate the pregnancy, and it doesn't match that of a typical child. So just to give you some context, Oriana was born at 38 weeks to the day. So if we had known about her diagnosis, with the pregnancy had just continued longer, we still would have had 2 weeks to terminate her after she was actually born and was completely healthy. And I think really anything from 36 weeks is considered a term pregnancy. So there's an additional 4 weeks after a baby is considered term that you can terminate a child with some of these, what they call serious disabilities. Other disabilities that fall into this category are things like cleft palate, cleft lip, spina bifida, and obviously Down syndrome. Now, this Abortion Act was from 1967, I believe, which in terms of Down syndrome, this was a lifetime ago. Some people with Down syndrome were institutionalised, they were kept separate from their family. People didn't seem to really take into account the fact that these could be people with feelings and understanding. They didn't always get the medical attention that they needed at the start of their life, which could result in more developmental delays. Whereas now we have so much more understanding, so much more research. Now people who are born with Down syndrome generally live far healthier lives. They're an active part of society, they're engaged, they can be independent, they can hold down jobs, they can be educated up into, as far as university level. There's a lady who has modelled for Gucci recently who has Down syndrome. There's no limit really to what someone with Down syndrome can do when raised in a supportive environment and given good medical support. One of these people is someone called Heidi, who is a woman who happens to have Down syndrome, and she has been campaigning for this law to be looked at in the light of what a diagnosis of Down syndrome means now. So they aren't asking for abortion to be completely ruled out, they're just asking for the law to be moved in line with that of a typical pregnancy. Babies with Down syndrome now should be seen in the same way that you see a typical child, that they shouldn't be discriminated against before they've even made it into the world, and that the cut-off for abortions for children with disabilities such as Down syndrome, or those that are screened for during early pregnancy, that the cut-off should be the same as a typical pregnancy, which is 24 weeks. But also there's undue stress and pressure put on parents to terminate the pregnancy when they are actually happy to go ahead and really want these children, just because they have this possible chance of having a disability. I've had people reach out to me and say that they actually screened as having a higher chance of having some of these disabilities, but when their baby was born, the baby didn't have any of these disabilities and there was no diagnosing. I've also had parents tell me that when they did have a higher chance of having a child with Down syndrome, at every single scan and appointment, they were taken into a separate room afterwards and told they were running out of time, and had they reconsidered their decision to continue with the pregnancy, and that termination was still an option. I've had friends that said they've literally requested a different consultant because the conversation of termination kept being brought up well after the parents had said that they wanted to continue with the pregnancy. Their decision just didn't seem to be respected, and the medical professionals who you normally come to a point of you trust that they know the best and you want to rely on them and their expertise, they seem to have such a negative view of some of these disabilities that they think there's a lot of pressure basically to terminate the pregnancy. That's how people who have gone through some of these pregnancies have said it feels. So a reason this has been gathering momentum, because of the work Heidi and Aidan's mum have done, a judge has now ruled the case can be heard in High Court. So there's a lot of financial support needed in order to do this, and I will make the link available. For more information, you can search hashtags such as I'm with Heidi and I'm with Aidan, and you'll probably see a lot of photos of the Down syndrome community and people that feel that their lives and their children's lives should be seen as valuable as their typically developing peers. And if you're in any doubt as to whether these lives are of value and are of worth, I really encourage you to follow some of the accounts on Instagram or Facebook of people who have a family member with Down syndrome, because these are really worthwhile lives. They're really valued people, and we personally can't imagine our family without having Oriana in it.